one thing I've learned is to stay grounded, keep that curiosity alive. Every day is a new learning. When you know a day that you say that this is it, when I take something, I give it my 100%. What can I learn new? What are the skills that I need to build? Very important to reach out to people who have more experience than you. When I started my career off, I didn't know what I'm going to set myself into. Willingness to learn is very, very important, and you should not let success get to your head. That's very, very essential as you grow up. Right? It's okay to retract a little, gain a little more experience, get a little more exposure. But then a lot of opportunities really come your way. Don't hesitate to put yourself out there to be vulnerable. There's a fine line of difference between micromanaging and then enabling people to do so. Every single minute counts.
Hi Anjan, thank you so much for joining with us today. I just want to understand from your side before we go any further, how has your career been? I understand you work in NxtWave today. Just wanted to understand how your career has transitioned over the past years. If you can start off with that.
Sure. Firstly, thank you, Girish. It's a pleasure being here. Pleasure talking to you as well. And I'm sure you're doing. From hearing from you at the onset, you're doing some amazing work here, which the world needs to know. To give you a little insight about me, I was born in Mumbai. My native is Chennai, but I'm a Bangalorean by heart, so I've been 34 years in Bangalore. My entire education has been there. I started my journey, and I can proudly say 16 years now. I started my journey with Northern Trust, and I continue to be with Northern Trust. So it was a very humble beginning. I think back in 2009, like anybody, I come from a very simple family background. So I graduated from a very simple college. I did my Bachelor of Business Management. It was called BBM back then. It's BBA now.
Yeah.
And then with that bachelor's, I gained a lot of confidence in my ability to persuade an audience, and something that I realized after some time. It gave me that confidence. I can speak. I naturally am very good at public speaking. So I said, I love working with people. I'm an extrovert by nature. So it's important that I have clarity in terms of I wanted to be in human resource. And it was very clear. I picked up my specialization in HR, and I'm fortunate because a lot of people have clarity at that point in time, but I did.
Yeah.
But life has its own way of taking turns with you. So 2009, I finished my graduation. We were all very happy. Recession hit hard. And then that 1 month of search really tells you. And then you need some of those friends, right, who come and probably splash water on your face and say, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
So that's how Northern Trust happened. And then from there, it's no looking back. But within Northern Trust, I think my journey has been such that when I look back today, every 2.5 years, I've got something new to learn. And with opportunities, it need not be all vertical moves. There were some lateral moves as well in between. And you have to sometimes move laterally to enrich your experience. And this inner voice kept telling you that your calling is with people. It's with HR. It's with, facilitation. I was very passionate about facilitating, working through talent management and development and that sectors. But then you can do only so much as a leader. And then don't take me wrong, I grew up the ranks as necessary as so through my career. And I did tell a lot of people as a graduate, if you can be from an analyst to a VP, I'm sure anybody can. But then I've now completed my post-graduation too, and grades that I've seen my journey inflicting. So I come with a strong background of business, along with now foraying into talent management and development. So that's been the journey from then to now. It's been a great journey. I've learned a lot, but one thing I've learned is to stay grounded, keep that curiosity alive. Every day is a new learning. And when you know a day that you say that this is it, that's when you probably stop. That's the way I look at it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. I just wanted to delve into that lateral and vertical thing that you spoke about. So being in a particular organization for 16, 17 years straight, it takes a toll. I mean, at least from the outsider's perspective or from self-image perspective, it might be, it's a double-edged sword, right? I just want to understand how has your mindset been over this past 16 years, sticking on to what you do, ensuring that you skill up and maneuvering through these lateral and vertical moves.
I think that's a great question because when I started my career off, I didn't know what I'm going to set myself into. Honestly, a guy who's done HR, does not like numbers as much, or it's not too fancy. Don't take me wrong, I'm not bad with numbers, but it's not my initial calling. But getting into finance, my only intention was, and I always say this, when I take something, I give it my 100%. And you have to have that commitment, willingness to learn. And willingness to learn is very, very important. And you should not let success get to your head. That's very, very essential as you grow up. And over a period of time, the constant curiosity in you to say, what can I learn new? What are the skills that I need to build? And reaching out to people. Very important to reach out to people who have more experience than you. Have that mentoring relationship. I've had a number of mentors during my career, in the organization, outside the organization, who you can candidly speak to understand if I'm doing something right, if I'm not doing something right. And then looking at those opportunities that come by, I also, through my careers, I've had the chance and fortunate to break some stigmas. So somebody tells me that after 2.5 years, I don't think anybody's made it. Okay, let's see if that's possible. And then try your merit to achieve it. So if you look at in the journey, it's important that you always look at yourself and you should have clarity about your own self. Very important. Self-reflection is something that a lot of us don't do. We rest on our laurels and we don't look at what things we have to improve ourselves on. I think it's important to start with what can you do better, because what are your strong points are something that it's up to you to keep it going, keep it strong, and see how you keep your strengths continuously evolve as you go. And that also helps you build that brand for yourself, right? And then start taking things which makes you uncomfortable. Only when you get uncomfortable is when you will grow. It is very, very important. If you're going to get very complacent, if you're going to get very comfortable in what you're doing, I'm sorry, you're not going to really grow, or you're not going to do something, and you only have yourself to blame. But through this journey, I have realized that when you move around different places too, I could leverage my experience, understand various functions. At the same time, what's the biggest asset that they say today is your network is your network, right? You get a chance to work with so many different people. And then when my journey started, when I made that shift, I still remember when I made that first shift, my journey started from being an individual contributor to a first-time people manager. I had to learn a lot. Okay, so it's important of how you speak, how you conduct yourself, because there's a lot of people looking up to you. And when you're super young and when you get to become a team leader at an early stage, it does take a toll on you, because you have to demonstrate maturity, you have to demonstrate composure, but it comes only when you learn through a lot of experience. Because when you don't go through certain things, and I have this strong quote that I use a lot, because when you don't go through certain things, you don't grow through them, right? So it's important that you garner that experience. Yes, there were decisions that were risky in between. To your question on Lateral, people asked me saying, what's wrong with you? Why have you been going back to a... So I moved to a division. I had to go back to another division. And I wanted to go back because that was closer to my heart. And I thought I could learn and evolve there. So I went back laterally. That was one of the craziest interviews I've ever attended. It was like, and I was at a stage where it was about 4.5, 5 years of my experience in my initial career as a team leader. So I thought my 4.5 years is on the table right now when I attended that interview. But I think what opened my eyes is when I did get through after the whole round of these interviews, that division head called me and he said, I admire something in you. I said, what did I do? I just applied for the role. He said, there's very few people who have the courage to move laterally. And you're one among them. Because it's important, vertically everybody does, but laterally very few do. So, and I look at it like this. And if you want to envision something, I'll tell you, when you go back to your childhood, you have these racing cars, retractable ones. So you retract a little, but when you retract, when you let it goes much faster. That was my story, right? It's okay to retract a little, gain a little more experience, get a little more exposure, but then a lot of opportunities really come your way. And being at the right place at the right time, destined to be, happened for certain things. So I got a chance to travel to London, travel to Philippines through the office. And then it gives you that much more richer experience. And as an individual, you get humbled when you start having a lot of these experiences. How do I channel this into what I want to do? Because then when I started doing this, my core forte was to bring in business, train a lot of people, influence people, persuade people, work with stakeholders. All of this got me thinking. And it said, so in my capacity, in my role, if I'm able to do this, then this is what I always want, right? So I got that sense of clarity. But then you do grow, you will have to keep your options open. You have to be very smart for yourself when you're choosing a career. You cannot just be with one and say, I'm not getting this, I'm not going to do anything about it. Had I done that in 2009, I would still be unemployed. I'm not sure where I would be right now. So it's important that you get what you do with what you get. Sometimes opportunities don't come to you in a silver platter, but you'll have to try and see how you navigate your journey.
True.
The journey from A to B is always there.
Yeah.
And you know this principle, I'm sure you must have heard, when you throw a ball from a straight line, it goes a little slower than it goes from the curve, right? So it's important that you have ups and downs, because those low points in your career are the ones that really, really teach you. Yeah, there have been a lot of inflecting points in my career as well, where I think I have got a lot of learning, but at the same time, I've also got a chance to pursue my passion. You'll have to talk to people about it. At some stage, I realized saying it's important I voice it out. So I had, like most of them have, I had my career development plan. I had my mentors. I had my chance to work with senior leadership. I sat along with them and said, this is all I want to do. It's always something of my interest. But at the same time, I think identifying your skills and see the skills work well where I am right now, it also works well in where I envision to go. So in case that doesn't happen, I'm okay to continue to grow here as well. So that was a great way of looking at how you take things through. And step by step, how do you prepare yourself? It is not going to happen in 8 hours. Let me tell you that. Okay? You need to stretch yourself a little if you really want to do something extra. And I always had, I don't know, it's maybe you call it a luck by chance, that I always had larger teams to manage. The people dynamics, get a little tricky when you have larger cohorts of teams. But it's great to see that when you go through some of those difficult decisions, difficult conversations, after a point in time, they become easy for you.
True.
They become something that you naturally comes to you. And that's how I think a lot of us should start looking at things. Don't hesitate to take those experiences. Don't hesitate to put yourself out there to be vulnerable. Once you're vulnerable at your point, you start learning a lot. And once you do, then you will have to also bring in humility from the core and stay grounded and stay humble. It's very, very important, because
I think that's when people start liking you also.
Correct. And then it's important that you're able to shape a lot of people's careers and lives, right? So when you sit down and know that you have a responsibility to shape somebody's career, your decision changes somebody's career, then the mindset shifts. That's the shift that happened for me. And then when an opportunity did come by, well, I've been preparing all my life for it, right? So I'm sure I'm going to give it all that I've got. But I was fortunate. It happened within the organization. I did get an opportunity. I made that shift from business to HR, into talent management and development, and then there's no looking back. So when you start doing something you're super passionate about, I don't think, like the famous people say, you don't have to work a single day in your life. That's where I am right now, and I'm able to make that impact. And I'm still in my journey. It's a work in progress. I have a long way to go. And it's never a full stop, it's always a comma, and that's how I look at it.
And just an extension question to the same thing. I have seen you be in the same panels with people 15 years elder to you, 20 years elder to you. Just want to understand what made you jump through those ranks in such a short span of time, probably. This is one thing. And you covered about handling large teams, right? Just want to understand the team size that you're handling today, if I may ask.
So today I work in a capacity where I don't handle teams myself, but I work with business leads who handle teams, larger teams. So it's changed. The paradigm is shifting because you're sitting and working with a lot of people who work with a lot of people in their teams. So I work in my individual capacity today. But in terms of the panels, I'll be honest, it happened organically. Initially, when you start going and putting yourself out there, it does not matter when you are a group of individuals in a table. It does not matter what is your experience. What matters is the perspectives that you're able to hear, contribute, and value that you're able to bring to the table. So I always believed in this. respect people who are more than your experience because they've seen things that you possibly have not till today.
True.
And at the same time, bring in your uniqueness and the fresh perspective that you bring in that they might have not yet seen as well. So it's a blend of both. Honestly, in all candor, I think the panels that I've been part of are very humbling set of leaders that I've got a chance to be with in the panel. And they bring with them an iota of experience. Some of their experiences are equivalent to my age.
Yeah.
But it's important that you allow and give that space for them to contribute, and you support that anecdote with whatever you have that you think you're seeing today in the industry. I think that's where it becomes easy to manage such a panel. A recent one in the the IASC was the one where I was super overwhelmed. It was a task that I took on myself. So I'm a moderator for about 9 people. And all of the 9 had to be given equal space to speak, and because they all come with their individual capacity and they're all respected in their own fields. But at the same time, never lose sight of what role you're playing. So it's important to be, if you have to be a strict officer, you'll have to be a strict officer because that moderation is in your control. So remember, even though you're sitting at the table, understanding your role, where you are, matters the most.
Sure.
Because today, you could be very young. At the same time, you have a panel with senior most people. Listen to their perspectives, but remember, you're leading the panel. So you're still leading the panel. You have to play your part and lead the panel. If you inflect away from that, or you shy away from that, and you bring down your confidence, it would show in your body language, and it would probably derail the conversation entirely. So you need to take control of the situation, at the same time, yet be humbling of yourself. On the 2 aspects of dynamics of managing larger teams, when I was managing a lot of people, there was a point in time when I had about 75 people under me, 6 leaders that I manage, and then a huge amount of team. I think it's all about how you empower your next set of leaders that you have with you to ensure that you give them enough space for them to run the show, operate the dynamics that a business requires, and you trust them for them to do their job. So my job was very simple. I managed the 6 of them.
Nice.
Right? When you manage, your focus is on managing the 6 of them. Or I'm just giving that as an example because I had that team. The rest will get managed by them. Okay? If you start going way down the circle, then you're trying to micromanage. There's that fine line of difference between micromanaging and then enabling people to do so. One is you walk the talk. Right? When you do that, when you bring that environment, when you set the tone, they probably do the same thing again, downwards. So it's how, and more importantly, a lot of us are very easy to adapt upwards, right? Because we are immediately aligned to our leaders and we do. But it's also important to flex downwards.
True.
Because you're in a space where it's important you have the people who are doing your job, and you need to be connected to them. And that connection and that roots that you never forget from where you come from is very important because they look up to you and you look up to them. There have been umpteen amount of times when I've moved to different businesses. I moved in capacity of a leader, but I go to the room and I say, you know what? I trust all of you to make the decision. True. I'm not the expert here, you are. But at the same time, it's important to also back your decisions up, know what you're deciding, what decisions are being made, get thorough with what you need to do because you're going to be representing the team. True. So it's very important that you have good understanding of what you do and how you build that understanding. Is through experience in over a period of time.
So just dissecting a little from the conversation that we're having, tech is changing every day. We have new announcements coming from Sam Altman, Satya Nadella every single day. And even tech experts are very, very overwhelmed with the kind of advancements that AI is bringing. We see news that says thousands of engineers taken away, whatsoever it is.
Right.
So just wanted to understand your perspective on how the next 4 years is going to look. And what kind of things students today have to take care in order to be ready for the market at a later point in time?
I think continuously upskilling yourself is the key. It's right out there. But at the same time, we cannot shy away from things that are coming with us right now. AI is the next thing. The artificial intelligence is so talked about today. Data science is, artificial intelligence is here to stay. There's a famous quote that's running out there, right? So AI is not going to replace humans, but humans who know AI are going to replace humans. So I think it's important to understand skills. People are just talking about 1 or 2 skills that are out there. Everybody's talking about ChatGPT or everybody's talking about DeepSeek, etc. But I think there are umpteen amount of tools that are going to make you a lot more productive. So as students, I think the first thing should be stay curious, always have a willingness to learn, and never stop questioning. Because the more you question, the more you ask, the more you learn. It's very important to do that, because it's not for the next 4 years, the next 10 years. I think this is going to be the norm. But with the fast, dynamic, changing industry right now, because we don't have the luxury, the time that you had in the previous era.
True.
In the previous era, the change was there, but it was not as rapid as it is right now, and it's not as dynamic as it is right now. So, as students, it's important that we catch the bus, but at the same time, continue that pursuit to learn.
True.
Because if you don't, then you're going to miss out. So, it's going to have to have a balance of both. And at the same time, I'd also assure this: don't get into the panic zone, right? When you hear these news and things happening, now with due respect, there's a lot of organizations who are making their decisions for themselves, but it doesn't mean that's the real picture.
True.
There could be a technology that's come in that's helped do that. Okay, so it's important for the students to keep their chin up, do what they do, upskill themselves. The whole Three Idiots quote comes to me, right? So, Kabil bano, kamyabi jak maar ke piche aayegi. So it is about that. So I think you don't chase success, but you try to go behind upskilling yourself and make yourself ready for anything that comes.
True.
And I'm sure, why get employed? You can start something on your own. And today, that's the era that we are in right now. And I'm sure NxtWave is a product of the same imagination. So why should your students not do the same thing? And that's my 2 cents to anybody who's listening in, from your fresh students' perspective at least.
So just going a little deeper, you covered about people becoming entrepreneurs or product leaders going forward. So I just want to understand from a mindset standpoint, right from day one of the college. So definitely, I'm sure 90% of the students that are going to colleges and universities today aim to get a safer job in the first place.
Right.
So what does it take for someone to maneuver through these things? I'm sure throughout your career you must have seen n number of students, n number of hires coming in fresh. So what kind of mindset exists today in order to, let's say, if I have to presume that next $1 billion company should come from a student, so what does it take for that to happen?
I think it starts with that thought. Okay, one simple thought that's there in the mind, or an idea that's there in the mind, that you want to make it big, or you want to add value or make a difference in the society. It starts from there, straight away. Any entrepreneur, it all starts with one idea and one small change that they wish to make to the society today. That's how you have come into place as well. Now, for the students, I think what they need to think of is, and true to what you say, it's a societal norm. Get a job, you need to be settled, you need to have a settled pay coming in, you don't have to do all the risks. But I think it's important for them to have a bit of both. So as they come in the start, back in the years, and I'm not looking to compartmentalize generations in whatsoever, I only look at it from skills then, skills now. So the skills back then were enough to get people through. Okay, but today, the skills that people have, they're very purpose driven.
Yeah.
They all are aligned to a purpose. If they're aligned to a purpose, they don't mind going over and beyond to build that skill to satisfy the purpose.
True.
So every student who's out there, they should start thinking about what's their purpose. And they should start upskilling themselves in that way. Yes, through that journey, they're going to go join organizations, build that experience, get a taste to understand what's going to happen. But have that thought in their mind that does not allow them to sleep in the night to say, this is something I always want to do, this is something I always want to do. And talk to people who are doing something like that today. A lot of us don't. And I'll give you a very different example for you to understand this. Say somebody wants to become a chef. Okay. Have you ever seen them going and talking to a chef to say what it happens? No. They only watch videos and say, oh, it's all easy. Okay, I'm also going to flip the pizza like that tomorrow and then get a chef. It's not easy. There's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes. So I think it's important to go speak to people who have been through that journey, and they're more than happy to share their journey.
Yes.
So I don't think anybody here today in the world going to say, no, I don't have time to talk to you. I think they have enough time to speak to you, and that's the power of a student.
True.
True. If you and me go tomorrow, they probably say no. But if you go in the capacity of a student, everybody is welcomed. So as students, I think we should reach out to people if they're aligned to certain things and ideas that they think they want to do and they want to make a difference. And today, our country is fully supportive. I think the avenues that are open for entrepreneurs, the Make in India in itself is a testimony for any student who's out there.
True.
Right? So I think it's all starts from there. And as students, if you have aspirations, keep them, but see how you're going to make your journey, have that directional clarity, and how you're going to get there. You need support from people who have already done this, only for a reason, because they'll tell you the mistakes you're not supposed to make. But eventually, there are mistakes you will make, there are failures that will happen, and then you will get here. Because without failures, you're not going to learn. And you'll have to accept the fact that you're going to fail. And when you go with that mindset, I'm sure a lot of things to come.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for showing the perspective. So people today are bonkers about becoming a T-shaped professional versus going in depth in a particular thing. So just want to understand which ones should the students weigh, because like you rightly said, Neighbor talks about AI. If you learn AI, I think that's the next big thing. Someone else talks about cybersecurity. That's the next big thing. IoT, next the big thing. Everyone talks about the next big thing, and students are probably a lot more overwhelmed than being informed about stuff. So while we are in an age where the kind of information that they are getting probably would be much more than someone who is 40-50-year-old can communicate. So just want to understand from a student standpoint on how do someone maneuver through all this overwhelming stuff that's there in front of him.
Oh, brilliant. I think this is a great. We could have another podcast just for this topic, right? But as students, I think you could be a jack of all trades, as they say. You can go out there and learn all the things that you want to, and it's good that you do. Be curious and learn. But always have that one thing that you're good at, and you can do even in your sleep, right? That one specialization that you have. And it need not be a subject or a topic. It could be a skill that you're good at. That's all it takes. But be good at one thing. Very, very important, because that's where you're unique. That's where your strengths lie. And that's where the core comes. If you go back a little, a carpenter was a carpenter. An engineer was an engineer. A doctor was a doctor. There were very clear demarcations. But under them today, things have become dynamic. A doctor is just not a doctor. You have a nutritionist, you have a physiotherapy person, you have somebody who can operate the machines, you have somebody like this. So things have changed. But at the end of the day, when a person says that this is my skill, this is what I'm good at. See, I could start with, for a student standpoint, I'm a fast learner. I can blend anywhere. So you can learn a lot of things. But your core is you're a fast learner. So what suits you to be a fast learner? Get to that. What are the areas and avenues that you think the fast learning capability can just get you through, right? And then some kid probably comes and says, you know what, I'm very good at calculations. Okay, wonderful. So what are your opportunities open when you do with calculations? Think of that. So you're good at one thing. Now, I'm not stopping you from upskilling all the noise that's coming by. You do your AI, you do your data science. But again, as students, I'll give them only one piece of advice. Every single minute counts. We can put our efforts in all multi-directional, or we choose to put our effort in unidirectional in one space and have know-how of the others. That's the balance that we need to get to. Have good domain of one aspect and have a know-how of the others. That way you're not losing out in the race. But at the same time, your individuality is kept to you, and you always have to be your unique self. And I recently did say this. Always be your true original self. It's very, very important, because today authenticity is very hard to come by. Everybody is running a rat race. So it's important to pause, think who you want to be, get clear with what you want to do, and put your efforts in that space.
Yes, thank you so much for all these things. I'm sure students are learning a lot of stuff from this podcast. We are stuck in a zone where companies are constantly telling, probably you might also empathize with this particular feeling, where college degrees are not being enough, students are not being ready for the market. While from the students' perspective, it's like there aren't enough jobs for them to get placed. Just want to understand from the corporate perspective on how companies are thinking, and is there a necessity for additional upskilling beyond degrees to be market ready?
Straight answer, yes. Straight answer to you is yes to that question. And I think today, that's why you have a lot of industry academia collaborations that you see are brewing up just to bridge this gap. And it's important. You bring up a very, very important point, which is at its own inflection today in the market out there, right? And I have this notion that I've heard a few new joiners who come to certain organizations and they speak about this as well, especially in the tech space, come and say, yes, fantastic. All your degrees can be kept aside outside the door. Come inside now and then we'll train you what you need to learn. It doesn't work that way entirely. See, degrees are important. Now, if we come to a college and say, you know what, my schooling is really not necessary. I don't think, why did I learn ABC? It's not even helpful right now. That ABC taught you to speak today, right? So it's important to understand that your schooling and that structure, that discipline that you go through is key. You learn traits there. Of course, talking about our education system, we have a lot to go ahead with. The education system is slowly evolving right now. Things are coming into play. I think we're shaping ourselves to be in the right space. But it is what it is, and we are part of that system. So it's important for us to understand that we come from a certain curriculum and a certain band that we've gone through, but it is essential that as when they step into the organizations, that's where I say come with an open mind. Say, don't think your degree is a waste. You have that degree with you, and that's why you have a seat at the table in the organization. If that degree wasn't there, you were not in the organization. So assume that to be your gate pass, and it's important the learnings that you have there. At some point in time, you will put it to use. It is important. So if somebody is learning core statistics and they're learning coding, I'm sure it will come to play at some point in time in their career. What they code is what the organizations decide, right? What they are used for is how the organizations decide, because that's a true decipher of potential that they're able to see that you're not able to see. That's where organizations come into play. I think that collaboration works. So is degrees just something out there, it's not necessary. Today, there are a lot of people defying that too. Girish, don't take me wrong, because there are people who say, I've not done my degrees, but I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a YouTube guy, I've done this and that. Now, all of this is luck by chance. But for a majority of us out there, we need to have a clear path. We can't have one night wonders working for all of us. It worked for some, it's not necessary it works for everybody. So degrees are equally important. That curriculum and that engagement is important. But when you come to the organizations, each organization has their way of onboarding their candidates. And today, the challenge lies in how you bridge this industry academia and bring what's necessary. So if you notice, and there are statistics out there, there's a lot of skilled workforce that we have who don't have a job today. So how do you bridge that gap between the skill and what they really need? And those are steps that's actually being taken by a lot of governments, and Karnataka government is doing that. I've been fortunate to be part of some of these roundtables, and there's an effort that's happening. So there is an exchange that is going on. You're bringing industry folks, academia folks, bridging that gap and understanding what do you need? What do you need? Can you make those changes in the curriculums that they are more industry ready, they are more market ready? But it's not a one-stop solution, and it's a work in progress. It will evolve over a period of time. But as students, all you need to do is you focus on your degree and you focus on upskilling yourself, and come to the organization with an open mind, with a willingness to learn, and with a sense of curiosity and that excitement. That's where the fun lies, and then you will definitely grow your way.
So we have walked you through the NIT campus that's upstairs. Just wanted to understand your view on how things would probably change over a later point in time, and how this innovation would help the students.
I think from when I walked through the campus, what caught my attention is, yes, you do have people sitting in a classroom, but you've broken that traditional methodology and you've created a lot of, you created an ecosystem where you're allowing them to fail. And I think that's what I see. You're giving them access to the equipment that otherwise they would not. You're giving them access to drones, you're giving them access to robotics, allowing them to play around with it, with no qualms in their head to say that if I break this, I'm going to get reprimanded. Or if I touch this, something is going to happen. You're allowing them to code, you're allowing them to work with it, work with that ecosystem. That's a game changer. Because when they start working with it, you never know what they're good at. And when they start getting exposed to a lot of aspects like this, they will somewhere identify their niche.
True.
And you're giving them that space to experiment. You're giving them that space to, at the same time, learn. And the whole aspect is binded by the support that you've created.
Yeah.
I think that's what I see here. And that changes everything. So it's great that you're bringing that in. And it's great that you're bringing that to the students. It's a great job that you're doing. And that's, I think, what differentiates you from the rest of them out there. So it's important that you keep that differentiation going.
Sure.
What will change, I think, over a period of time is how you keep up pace.
Yeah.
Because with the constant evolution of technologies today, every 10 seconds something new is coming, right? So you might bring something in and things are changing. How do you keep up with that pace and have that exposure continually accessible to your students?
True.
I think is what will change, in my opinion.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Just to conclude, if you can add some kind of final words to the students on what they should focus on, any final tip that you would like to give the students on to stay ahead of the curve and ensure that they land up in great careers going forward?
Oh, certainly. I think I have 3 things in my mind. Okay. And I call it 3 C's. Stay curious, concentrate on really what you want to do, and catch up with what the world is doing.
True.
So you have these 3 things which are there. Because you can be curious, you have to be focused and concentrate on what you do, and really have know-how of what's happening around you. Sometimes we get lost in what we're doing and we miss out on what's happening around us. So it's important that we stay afloat. If we are on the ground, it's easy for us to maneuver, dodge any obstacles coming our way. We're flying ourselves out. We don't know where we are going. The cloud it's going to get clouded at some point in time. You can get only so much if you're doing that. So that's my take to the students.
Sure.
Have that willingness to learn. Build your awareness. General knowledge is very important. And do concentrate and do what you want to do.
Sure.
Identify your niche. Sure. Very, very important today.
Thank you so much, Anjan. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you,
I'm really, really happy that you put in a lot of perspectives in place for the students. I'm sure they must have learned a lot from this. What we strongly believe is that, you rightly pointed about industry academy collaboration. While everyone talks about it, there is very less practical implementation in a lot of places that I've seen. So we would like to do that constantly. We'd like to ensure that students learn a lot of stuff from people like you. So we'll continue to do engagement like this. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for joining us today.
No, it's a pleasure. It's mine. Thank you so much for having me here. And it's great work that you're doing right here. Please continue doing so. And I wish you and the students all the very best. Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here. Cheers.